Yo, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to another video. Today, I'm going to be talking about Natdex for the first time in like forever, because people have been releasing bad tier lists, and I'm here to correct them. So yeah, here is going to be my 100% correct, 100% objective tier list. You know? All right. So first, we're going to start off with whatever the fuck this order is. I think it has like all the Megas first or something. Okay, Mega Venusaur. This guy's like tier 5. It's like okay-ish. The typing's like kind of nice. Into like flutter stuff, and Earth Power is like a good buff for it, but like it's used on like two teams. And it kind of has like Black type synergy. So if you're using this mod, you kind of have to pair it with other uncommon Pokemon, which sucks. Okay, Zardex, similar Bolt, honestly. I think it's better than Venusaur, but I'm not better enough to warrant in a higher tier. Um, Oftentimes, if you want a fire type mega, you're better off just using Zard Y. Fun fact, physical Zard Y does more damage than physical Zard X if you use Cherum. Okay. Zard Y probably stays tier 2. Sun is probably the best weather. I think it's like really over-prepared for, and it hasn't really like performed super great in like recent tours, but that's because it's one of the best archetypes in the tier, and people have not been experimenting well enough with Sun itself, and the counterplay to Sun has been thoroughly explored. Okay, Blastoise. Yeah, this guy could stay like tier 4. It's like an interesting redirector with like impression of follow me and fake out, but even with that, you're not going to use it a whole lot. There are better redirectors for most teams. Alright, Ninetales, probably 4, maybe 5. Snow is like okay, but a lot of the Snow Mons I think are better like outside of Snow. But I think 4 is fine. It's a better archetype than like the 2 Megas down here. Alright, Kang. Kang is probably 3. This Pokemon's okay. Like, the metagame's like not great for it. But like it has like 2 sets, right? So the first one is Power Up Punch. Power Up Punch is a little bit difficult to run. You kind of like force on relatively streamlined teams. And the payoff is very high. Seismic Toss is maybe more consistent, but I think like the ceiling is lower. Because you're not actually KOing things, which means you're taking more damage in return on average on most turns. Seismic Toss is like the set most people use. I think it's like okay, but I'm also like I'm just not really a fan of that set, to be honest. Like I've like literally never used it. Like it has enough usage to warrant tier 3, but realistically, like I'm not even sure it's in the top 5 megas, honestly. Okay. D-Knight, I never see this guy, but like E-Speed, surely it's like tier 5. Okay, Zapdos, this guy low-key a fraud, but like it is a pretty good Z-move flicker with like Hurricane. It has like an interesting typing into like the best mega in the tier, which is Meds. Not enough is probably enough for tier 4. It's relatively bulky Tailwind Center. I don't feel super strongly in this, but it's probably like here. Alright, Gyapdos, yeah, this guy sucks, lol. Okay, Mew. Mew has like a lot of utility in this format. Between like Fake Out, Pollen Puff. The stuff it has in Gen 9, basically plus Fake Out, plus like random Z moves like Z Transform, which some people use, looking at Schuster. This is like 3. There are better Fake Out options, but like if you have like some specific niche that you want like slot to fill, I mean this is like a pretty good bet that it's going to get you there. But its longevity is like not super great into like a lot of the more offensive teams, and it cannot be used as like a soul like Tailwind Clicker or soul Fake Out Mon. Like it has to be the secondary option, I think, because otherwise it's just going to get blown up by like Terra Fairy, Moonblast, or whatever. Okay, Politoed. Politoed is definitely 3. I think a lot of my friends have been like criticizing rain lately. I mean, fair enough, but I actually think it's a fairly good weather. Less so for Kingdra. Kingdra like low-key sucks. You are. But the fact that you have like Basque and Arch, those are like the 2 main like ways you can run rain. I think the Basque version is a lot stronger than the Arch version currently in this format. But I think both are like equally, or like relatively close survivability. And that like flexibility is something that a lot of the other like weathers don't really have. Um, they're kind of like more committed to like a few specific tools. Like Sand needs like Dracovish or Dracozolt. Most of the time Dracovish, Dracozolt's like kind of mid. Um, and Sun is like kind of like locked into the proto guys, which I mean, Sun is like still better, right? Because those Mons are just like stronger, but like they're not the same thing as like completely different playstyles of like being able to run like Arch with Polytoad or being able to run Bask with it. I think Bask is one of like the strongest Pokemon in this tier with Wolfreina. Consistently one of the most difficult Pokemon to play around. Because, well, last respect, lol. I think like Polytoad it's got like maybe a little bit weaker without like Shadow Tag, because like some of the like Rain Perish teams I always thought were like really strong in this format, but without that like it's not as good, obviously. But it's not enough for me to really like move it down from tier 3. Okay. Spearow, this guy's like 4. It's like Mew, but like worse, but more troll, and you can fuck people over with Spore. Alright. P2, this guy's like kind of mid, but it's a really solid like Trick Room setter that's going to guarantee you Trick Room in most games. It's just like Ice Beam for like a lot of the strong mods that are like weak to ice, like Lando Eye or Bench, is really good. Lots of like versatility with its Terra type. It's probably towards the bottom end of like tier 4, simply because I think like Full Room's just like not super strong. A lot of the Full Room teams don't even use P2, but I think P2 is a fairly underexplored Pokemon, and I would rate it higher than stuff in tier 5, and also probably above Ninetales. Okay. Mega T-Tar. This is probably the top of tier 4. We're gonna talk about T-Tar and regular T-Tar together. I'm not super high on like Mega T-Tar itself. I think not really worth it to use your Mega Slaw on this Pokemon unless you're running like setup. But it's like very good at doing that like when you are running Mega T-Tar. But I'm putting it in tier 4 because I think a lot of the time being able to run like T-Tar plus like Ments is better. Because I think the main function of Sand is to run Dracovish. Actually, I'll just talk about all of Sand here. Kind of alluded to it a few minutes ago. Where's Dracozolt? Oh, it's down here. Okay. So Dracovish is definitely like tier 3 with Tyranitar. It could be. It's way higher than T-Tar, and that's strong as well. But that's another point for Polytoad. You can run Dracovish with it. Lol. But honestly, Vish might be tier 2. I'll think about it later once I have more stuff in the tier list. But yeah, I think Sand is like one of the stronger archetypes. I think it's like the 3rd best weather. Because like rain very highly. But Sand's matchup into like Sun is like really good. That's kind of its main selling point, and obviously Vish is like broken. Kind of, but Zolt is like tier 4, probably with Mega T-Tar-ish, like down here. But I think like the stuff with like Mega Mets plus T-Tar is like really strong. I just think like the upgrade from like T-Tar to regular T-Tar is like a lot less than a lot of other Megas, especially in a format like this where like Sand has so many like other abusers. And that just means that like regular T-Tar is slightly better, I think, because it's way more usable with other options. Granted, it's like mostly Mets, because Mets and like T-Tar have like really good type synergy together, except for like the Fairy type, but like that's kind of the main difficulty of building that archetype, but like it's okay. Alright. Entei. This is an interesting one. It's definitely like a tier 4 somewhere. I think it's actually one of the best mods to use with like POW. But POW is like kind of like seeing a little bit of a decrease in usage. Put it here. Maybe here. I think Entei's fine. Its typing is really good. Having Howl is really nice for it. But like it feels like very tier 4 to me. I could not put it higher. But I think like it's a strong mod. Sacred Fire is really good. the use cases for it are just like relatively limited. But it is, I think, the preferred fire for POW teams, in my opinion. That are like instant, but I think Entei is better at that role. And it's better than D-Knight on POW teams as well. Having access to Howl is like really huge for it. Gouging Fire is honestly in a similar boat. Where did that go? Yeah, here. But I actually do slightly prefer Entei, like just as a personal preference. I think they're around the same. But I think I slightly prefer Entei because Inner Focus is actually like really huge in Natdex. Just for like the fact that there's like Instant, Lando T, and like Mega Ments, and sometimes teams have like more than one of those. I think Inner Focus is like a really valuable ability in this tier. And also like Gouging Fire, like its main use over like Entei and like SV is the fact that it like has Howl and Entei doesn't. But Entei also having Howl, like kind of like limits that, and also, I mean, Gouging Fire also has the benefit of like the speed boost and whatever, which is still very strong in this tier. But I think that's enough for me to like rate them about the same. But like personally, I think Entei is slightly better. Like I'm more likely to use Entei than I am to use Gouging Fire. But I think other people would feel maybe like slightly differently. But I think they're about the same. Okay. Swampert, another like bad ring guy. Like maybe it's okay, but you'd have to use it with Pelipper, and like Pelipper's like not the best range setter. Do I want to stick this at the bottom of tier 5? Maybe. I don't know. Like if this isn't tier 5, it's like the worst Pokemon in tier 5. I don't really feel strong about it. Okay. Mawile, this Pokemon's fairly good. Probably here. The typings look really nice. The fairy damage is really good. There's a lot of like fairy weak targets in this tier. And the thing with Mawile is like typing doesn't really matter. Because if this Pokemon gets like a Swords Dance, like nothing is really like switching in on it cleanly. Sucker is also like strong. But this is like one of the better steel types in the tier, but there's a lot of steel types, so that's the reason why it's not higher. But I do think it's fairly good. Definitely like there are like it's like a clear like defined like mega like list that I would like use, and Mawile is well in the middle of the pack of that. I'd actually rate it higher than Mega Tutar, I think. Okay. Gardevoir, this Pokemon has seen like a lot of usage recently. And I think like it's more clearly like differentiated itself from like Flutter stuff. I think I'd put this as like the highest mod in tier 3. It's only not tier 2 because I think like Flutter and Phoebe are like more splashable fairy types. But Gardevoir as its own archetype is very strong, and has a lot of like flexible options you can pair with it. But yeah, I just think like you're not really lacking for fairy types in this tier, to the extent where I'd like put it in tier 1 or tier 2. But it's very easy to support this Pokemon, and the damage is like relatively unrivaled. If you can like actually get like a Calm Mind going or whatever. Manectric, this is like 5 probably. Lightning Rod is cool. The combination of two abilities is like really unique, but unfortunately for it, as in any format where Zeraora is legal, Zeraora is like probably just better in most situations thanks to compressing Fake Out and Snarl in a similar manner. Fake Out, Snarl, Volt Switch. It does everything except have Lightning Rod and Intimidate. But that access to Fake Out and just being like faster is a really big deal. Zeraora is probably like here. It's fairly strong. This Pokemon would be excellent if coaching was steel legal, but it's not. So it kind of has to make do with it, like its SM toolkit basically, which is still like really good, but in a power level like as high as this one, it's not quite on the same level as like some of the other Fake Out ones like Rilla or Ensign. All right, man, this is maybe the first tier 1 Pokemon here. Debatable. It's the best Mega evolution by far. I think the prominence of like Flutter is enough for me to not make it tier 1. The other Megas are like very good as well. And while I do think it is clearly the best Mega by a lot, honestly, by a lot, kind of, it's not by as much as I probably like rated it over the others like in like previous iterations of this VI. I think the other megas have become better designed. We've seen better Mawile teams, we've seen better Gardevoir teams, we've seen better T-Tar teams. We haven't seen better Zard Y teams. That's why this Pokemon is doing bad recently. But yeah, Mence is just excellent. It pairs really well with a lot of the best mods in the tier as well, which is really, really good. You don't really have to shoehorn anything else. It's type synergy with Pokemon like Landoi, and Flutter, and like Incin. It's all really, really good. Dashi as well. It's just like, it's so easy to use compared to like the other megas, but the other megas have been better developed, and the gap between Mence and them is not as high as like it would be if I were to put this in tier 1, I think. Alright, Latias, this guy sucks, lol. I do think this is better than Swampert. I'll put this down here. It's like, I keep like trying to figure out how to run this mod, and like it's like kind of close, but I think it's probably just like outstatted. It's not worth it. Put it in tier 5. No one should use this really. Like if you're gonna try to use this, you have to like have like a really deep understanding of the tier, I think. And even then, you're gonna struggle. Okay. Jirachi. This Pokemon's very good. It's like either the best or second best redirector in the format, depending on how like highly you rate Amoonguss. I think I'd put it like just behind Mence in tier 2. Again, it has like a lot of great synergy with like a lot of the best mods in the tier. But there are like other good steel types, and I think like similar to Mence, like the gap between like Jirachi and the other seals is just like not high enough to like put it like above all the rest by so much. And then your other redirection options are good as well. Stuff like Ogerpon, all the Ogerpon forms, except for like the no mask one, are all good. Amoonguss is very good. Edidi is okay. Is there any others here? Sinistcha is very good as well. Like this is clearly like the best or second best redirector, but like you can't deny that the other ones are still there, and you're like very rarely going to run 2 of those on your team, because all of them are very durable except for you can run Ogerpon with like Rachi, and that's like okay, but I still like don't think the compression is enough to warrant tier 1, especially when it's like if this Pokemon was like pure Steel type, it would be instant tier 1. Unfortunately, it's part Psychic and it's weak to Flutter. Which, like, even though, like, Shadow Ball doesn't kill unless you're, like, super invested specs, it's still unfortunate, because, like, something like Amoonguss is a much better redirector into Flutter. Jirachi's, like, advantage, right, is it's a redirector that's strong into Mence, but I think there are better ways to deal with Mence. You want to, like, switch it in your Incineroar or Lando T, or just kill it first, and even, like, it doesn't even beat DD Mence one-on-one, by the way, which is really funny. But the compression Jirachi has is, like, really, really excellent. It has maybe, like, 15 viable moves or more that you could run. It's just absurd. But the best stuff is, like, Follow Me, Iron Head. You're running Iron Head most of the time. Icy Wind is good as well, but Iron Head is better. Life 2 is good. Trick Room is good. Encore is good. Stealth Rock is good. If you could run all of those, this Pokemon would be like tier 0, but it really has 4 move slot syndrome. And like the thing that actually makes it difficult to use this Pokemon is I personally like rate like Protect on your redirectors like very, very high. But the trouble with Nazi is that it just can't fit it. Unless you drop one of its other moves, which feels ass. So it definitely it has like the worst 4 move slot syndrome of all the redirectors, which is not to say like it's not the best redirector, but it's not enough to be a tier 1. I talk a lot about this because I know a lot of people feel like this Pokemon is tier 1, but if I'm putting like Mence in tier 2, I can't put Jirachi in tier 1. Okay.
Yeah, I just quickly wanted to add about Jirachi. The one thing that sets it apart from Amoonguss versus Flutter is that it can actually kill the Flutter, and Amoonguss can't. So that's like big value for Jirachi. I mean, Iron Head kills Flutter like almost always.
Yeah. But like most of the time, Jirachi sits on the field and gets it to -1, and then it doesn't kill Flutter, and it loses the trade.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
But it is much better.
Yeah, I mean the other thing is
offensively.
Yeah, definitely. The other thing is like forcing Flutter to lock into Shadow Ball is pretty good. because if
Yeah,
Flutter's not
yeah.
locked into Gleam, then your Mence is a lot safer, right? So stuff like that like makes it a little bit better in my opinion than Amoonguss into Flutter, but yeah, I mean I agree with the placement for the most part.
Okay, Deoxys attack. This is like size spam HO. This archetype is very, very cringe. Should not be legal at all. That being said, like the tier has like fairly good options to deal with it. This is actually one of the best things about Jirachi that I forgot to mention. Jirachi completely shits onto the size spam archetype, except for the fact that they run like guard line. But the metagame has like a lot to deal with Deoxys, so like I can't really put it any higher than like probably middle of tier 3. I think it's like slightly worse than Rain as an archetype. We're just sticking DD with it as well. And then Lele is probably like here, the more offensive version of DD that doesn't really have follow me, but has cool stuff you can do with Lele. But I think a DD is generally better. You can work both. That's kind of the top thing. But yeah, Deoxys attack is very dumb. Probably should not be legal. But there's a lot of things like that in this tier. And the prominence of like a lot of Pokemon that like are annoying for Deoxys to deal with prevents it from being higher. Stuff like Jirachi, Heatran, other Steel types, Incineroar, Rilla, like having Rilla and Feeny as like multiple terrain options makes it a lot easier to deal with Deoxys than it was in SV. But the highs it hits are still like not okay. And it's not a healthy presence for the tier at all. But there are more consistent archetypes that are vastly more consistent. Alright, Heatran. This is the best or second best fire type in the tier, depending on your perspective. The typing that Heatran has is just unmatched in this format. It has the best typing into like the top like 5 offensive mons. Okay, not top 5 because like there's Lando Eye, but like it did Meds plus like Flutter, plus like a lot of the other every other fire type struggles into it as well. Volcanion is not real, but yeah, the typing is just incredible. It's the best Pokemon at dealing with like the combination of Meds plus Flutter, for similar reasons to like what Kunal was saying about Jirachi. Like forcing Flutter to lock Shadow Ball is very, very good in most situations. And this Pokemon makes really great use out of Tira as well, which is another point for it. Eruption is another option that it has for some reason. It can be played on like slower teams. It can be played on Tailwind teams. But yeah, it's just great. Unfortunately, there are a few things in this tier that hit it. It can't really deal with like Feeny very well, which is kind of asked for it. But into like other fairy types is very good. Not much else to say. I think personally I rate like Incineroar slightly higher, but this Pokemon's very, very good. Alright, Victini. Victini's actually fairly good. I think Scarf Victini is an underrated like option that is capable of like nuking like a lot of the frailer, faster mons. And also has access to Glaciate, which is really cool for Scarf. I don't think sets other than Scarf are real, except for like maybe Z Celebrate, but that's like kind of a meme. I think this is like 4, or probably 5. Like, there's so many other good fire types that I can't really, in good conscience, put it higher, but this Pokemon is definitely viable. It should be more used. Alright, Whimsicott. You don't really see this guy very often, between like a lot of the other Tailwind centers. Torn is much more common as a Prankster center. That being said, like, Whimsicott is like surely okay, some context, but I think it's probably like tier 5. Okay. Ferrophore. This Pokemon is very, very frightening. Similarly to like a lot of the other steel types, like if you deal with like the fire type, you're mostly good to go. It is like a little annoying that like the matchup into like something like Lando Eye is also very negative as well, which is a little annoying. But other than like fire types, like Z-Torn and Lando I, this Pokemon takes no damage. Which, I mean, is kind of like a broad category of stuff it's taking damage from, right? But the typing is still excellent. Iron Defense, Body Press is very good with this. Where did I put it? I think 4 is valid for it.
It also just gets like Terra and immune
Terra.
fire types, right? Like, it's just a scary guy.
Yeah. I would rate it in tier 3, but I think Lando I is one of the best Pokemon in the tier. None of the common Ferrothorn and Terra types fix its matchup into Lando I, which makes it a little bit tricky. It gives a lot of teams like more flexibility in playing around it than maybe you'd like expect. But Terra is very toxic for this Pokemon. It's probably one of the best Pokemon in tier 4. I'd rate it higher than Mawile for sure. Okay. Amogus. I think this is like bottom of tier 2. I think this Pokemon has very interesting utility next to a lot of the megas, honestly, like Gardevoir. It's like not as good as Rachi at sitting next to Mets, but it can definitely do it. Good matchup into like Flutter defensively. Like Flutter just literally cannot hit it at all. Sun is annoying for it. There's some matchups where it's not great. But like Feeney's annoying for it too, but honestly in this format, Amogus not really clicking Spore as much as just clicking Rage Powder and Pollen Puff. Access to Pollen Puff is a really, really big deal in this format. Okay. Volcarona. This is bottom of tier 4, I think. Interesting fire type with useful utility. Struggle Bug, Wisp, Rage Powder, Tailwind are all good. Quiver Dance is also kind of real a little bit, but I haven't really seen other people run it. But it's definitely like a viable set. It's just like kind of asked into like Red Heatran, etc. But definitely a half decent Pokemon, but one of the weaker fire types that is on this list. But it's still good. All right, Corn. More offensive teams with like Torn over Mets as the tailwind setter are definitely viable. It's not like SV where Torn is like arguably tier 1 or high tier 2. I'd say it's on the lower end of tier 2, but it's still a very, very real archetype. Like Genies plus Flutter is extremely toxic offensively, and there's really not a lot that can like stand up to that combination of 3 Pokemon. It's just a little bit tricky to round out defensively, but it's definitely like workable. And a lot of the more offensive compositions really appreciate having Torn around. Flyinium Z is really big for Torn, giving it a way to like potentially like kill bulkless Mets and a lot of the other frailer Pokemon. If it's something like Zard Y with like 115 special defense, really hates taking the Supersonic Sky Strike. That's really the dominant set for Torn in this format. But like Sash is also fine. Icy Wind is very good as well. Big difference is like Torn is like not really like at the speed ceiling in this format. There's a lot more things that are faster than it. Like being slower than Vents is really to its detriment. But I mean, for like Tailwind stuff, that doesn't really matter because you have Frankshire anyway. But it's definitely like once both sides of already have Tailwind up, Torn is a little bit weaker than it is in SV. But like Flying MZ is part of what helps compensate for that. All right. This is a very good Pokemon. I rate this very, very highly. Specifically bulky Lando I, that is able to like take a Moonblast from Flutter, and stuff like that. It pairs really, really well with Flutter. The typing is fairly good. A lot of things drop to Lando I that don't really drop to much else. And like, it's also really good next to Feeney. Like the Ground Fairy offensive coverage is a lot easier to acquire in this tier than SV. But that being said, it's like not as good as like it's probably higher than Heatran is a little bit LARP. But it's very, very good. Special ground damage is just so valuable. Sandsphere is a completely broken move. Pairs really, really well with like Incineroar. Same stuff that can be said about Lando I in any format. But yeah, okay, Lando T. This Pokemon is kind of good. Yo, what's up, Hopeless? This Pokemon's like kind of good, but the fact that Lando I is vastly superior offensively makes it so I don't really value Lando T at all. I'd actually put it the bottom of tier 3 or the top of tier 4. Probably bottom of tier 3. Like it'd be like this. It's still like a good Pokemon, but the opportunity cost of using Lando is like really really high. It's not even the it's like not even the second best Intimidate Mon if you include Mega Meds. And the Z sets like really have fallen out of favor into like a lot of the offensive teams. They just don't get stuff done. It is one of the best like rockers in the tier, but it could honestly even be difficult to click that. Scarf is very good. Scarf is probably the best set. Being able to get over like the faster stuff is good. But meh. I think Lando is vastly better on most teams. And Incineroar is better on most teams. I don't know. Don't really like this Pokemon very much. Pure Black. This Pokemon is very good. Probably the top of tier 3. Ice typing is really, really valuable. With like Meds, Lando and the coverage this Pokemon gets is really good. Like it has Freeze Dry or Fusion Bolt to hit Feeny. Like this Pokemon can just basically hit every Pokemon in the format for a lot of damage. Or at least respectable damage. Also has Earth Power. And the setup sets are maybe a little bit weaker than Assault Vest, but they're still there. Icicle Spear is really nice for it. Very, very threatening Pokemon in the context of the metagame. Icy Wind is also something that I think is very good on it. Alright.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, what's up?
So, this comes from a singles perspective. How often does Karen Black run Z in this tier?
Not
Because
very often. It's
usually-
a very common set in like SM DOU, but not in this format in particular, because you usually have other things that you want to use your Z move on. It's also a very good para option with like Terra Electric Fusion Bolt.
That's what you just usually go to set that I was thinking. Because I remember Karen Black was like in SV DOU, right? When you remember when Karen Black dropped, that guy was like Giga S tier.
Yeah.
So like, what's the difference in here? What makes him not Giga S tier? But out of curiosity. Because he's like, if you think about it, right? Like, why doesn't he transition over like that much?
It generally transitions over, but there are other things in Natdex that you can like. It's just like what made it so stupid in SV in particular was like the setup sets.
Yeah, like coaching,
like,
right?
Yeah, with like coaching and just like Sinistra support or like anything else like that, and Clear Amulet. But in this format, it's like also like it has like a very high ceiling, obviously, but the typing is like not super great, and it kind of just gets whacked by stuff. There's more viable fairy types. In SV, kind of like the thing about Kyurem was like it was like kind of bad into Flutter, and Terra was annoying, and Terra was like good for it in that matchup, but like we kind of knew like Flutter was not supposed to be legal. So Flutter being one of the only like positive matchups into it was a little like questionable.
Right, and even then you drop Spear.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. I always thought this guy kind of seemed like kind of broken.
It is. I think there's like this Pokemon definitely could be moved up to tier 2 if like there are better teams built with it. I was at Sands, it's mostly used with AV, which is the set that's like very good in a lot of old gens. That's the main Kyurem Black set across DOU tiers, is Assault Vest. But that's a lot harder to make that set look broken than it is like the setup set.
I always feel like Kyurem, it's like you trying to be like the regular Kyurem from DOU, which is usually uses AV on Hail. I feel like maybe if people experiment a little more with Z, because you did say Z is a little underplayed right now.
Yeah,
maybe
I've
like
not
Z
seen
sets
Z
will
at
pop
all.
off.
But Z is definitely viable in some capacity. Alright, DNC. This is a good Turkrum center, but, you know, it's not as good as like Stack does. It does a kind of a good job LARPing as Stack Attacka, but stuff like Lando Eye becoming prominent really hurts it. Flutter is kind of bad for it too, because Flutter, like, outside of Trick Room, can just like chip it for a lot of damage on the special side. I still think it's a good Pokemon. Probably like here-ish. I'm gonna move Fish up, by the way. I think Fish is starting to find multiple different archetypes is enough to put it higher. That's a side tangent. But yeah, DNC's like here. Alright, Mega DNC, this Pokemon low-key sucks, but Diamond Storm is a broken move. And there is a few fun things you can do with this. will not elaborate. All right, Volcanion, probably tier 4. This Pokemon used to be very good in this tier, but a lot of like. After like Metagross got banned, and after like Zamazenta got banned, and after Urshifu got banned, it really like had a lot less usage. It's still good, but I think Heatran is the better bulky fire type if you're not using Incineroar. Incineroar, ooh. I still think this Pokemon is like
where it belongs.
True. I still think this Pokemon is like maybe the second best Pokemon in the tier behind Flutter. Pokemon is just excellent. Access to like Dark Z for Z Party Shot is really, really good on this Pokemon. I think I've said that for a while, but the more I play with it, the more I think that. It's just, I personally rate it higher than Heatran, but I think the two are like very close. But Incineroar is just like so great with like Mega Meds. The typing is just excellent. Not resisting Flutter is the one like bad thing going for it really. But it just pairs so easily with the other good Pokemon in the tier. There's basically 0 teams where I feel like having Incineroar is not make the team better. The only exceptions are like when like you specifically are really, really weak to Flutter and want Heatran. But yeah, I just think this Pokemon has so many viable sets and utility options. Okay, Zarina. This Pokemon's okay. It's like okay Fire Block, but it's kind of mid in a Natdex context. It's like down here. Alright, Araquanid, cool typing. Water Room Z is cool on it. But it's very, very fringe. Textbook tier 5. Alright, Tapu Koko. This is kind of a hard one to rank because like the electric like terrain teams are like very good. But it's kind of hard to attribute how much of that is due to Koko, how much of that is due to Iron Hands, how much of that is due to like, etc., right? I think the archetype's just like not playable without it, so I think it kind of has to be like here. It's definitely like not super great on its own, but it has enough stuff and enough damage output to like make a board presence. And it's good. It's really good into everything that's like not Flutter. Unfortunately, Flutter is like the best Pokemon in the tier, but the speed is very good. You could make it bulky enough to like live Moonblast too, and it's a better Z move user than Flutter. It has Electro Web, it has Dazzling Gleam. Specs is very good on it. It's a little bit better. It's a lot better defensively into stuff like Mega Meds. It has a lot more bulk than Flutter, but its bulk is still not great. But it's a good Pokemon. And really it's up here just because stuff like Iron Hands just becomes Thanos when it has like an Electric Seed and a Corp Drive boost. That's maybe
Well, it might rise in usage, right? If Flutter goes, then like what's stopping Koko Hands, right? They both probably move up a tier from wherever they would be.
100%, yeah. We're probably a long way off from a Flutter ban, but I do think Flutter is going to need to be banned. A lot of people just don't agree with me yet, but they will. Trust me.
Okay, I agree that Flutter should be banned without Terra. We talked about this before. Is that broken?
Okay, Tapu Fini. Tapu Fini is excellent. The best water type in the tier. Probably like near Zardfly viability. The viable sets, I think like Specs has like risen up in popularity. I think Specs is very good, but I think Calm Mind is like still really, really dangerous. Especially in like the right matchup, Calm Mind is just extremely degenerate. It has access to Terra, but it probably shouldn't. But this is overall a very positive Pokemon for the tier. Has generally good matchups, especially with the Calm Mind set into like a lot of the top mons that are like really dangerous offensively. Pairs really, really well with Incineroar. I had this Pokemon a little bit lower because I was like, well, I don't want to run Flutter and Fini on the same team, but then I realized you just run them on the same team. It doesn't even matter. Flutter's defensive profile is not as good as Fini's, and Fairy type is just like the best type in the game anyway, so like it doesn't even matter that you're doubling up on it, really. And they don't even share weaknesses either. So yeah, a very good Pokemon. yeah, I just think this Pokemon's very, very good. Not much else to say. Um, but specifically, Specs has seen a lot more usage in the last couple of months. That's kind of the biggest change for it. Uh, it can kind of LARP as Flutter with Specs. But having like that muddy water spread cover is actually really valuable. Okay, Celesteela, interesting Pokemon. Probably like tier 3. It's a good Steel type, but not as great as some of the others. Although I guess it is one of like probably like top 3. I guess.
Really? I'm surprised.
Like what other Steel types are here?
You'd think it would be a bit better because of Flutter main usage, right?
Oh,
And it
it's
seems
very,
pretty
very
good
good.
into like most of the. It seems like decent into tier 2s, right? Like if on
It's one of
paper,
the.
right? So
It's very
Celesteela
good at
diffs. It
Dements
diffs.
as well.
Mhm. Right. It diffs Ments. You have Wide Guard for Heatran, so they have to run Magma Storm, which is inaccurate. You diff Lando Eye. Finny can't touch you because of Wide Guard, and you can probably leaf seed it down, right? Yard can't touch you unless it's Overheat, which it usually is, but it has to go for it, right? So you make a
Yeah.
commit to the Overheat. Like you just like Amoonguss and like whatever, and then Vish will kill you. But it
I'm
seems
actually
so
gonna move this
bad.
up. I'm gonna move this up to like here, because like Lando I was not as common the last time I recorded this video,
Mhm.
but it's very, very good. I like what said. It's so good at the Flutter. It pairs really nicely with like Feeny as well. You can run like Misty Seed, with Acro. But a lot of times doesn't even need to do that, right? Like Wide Guard is great, Leech Seed is great. Um, excellent Pokemon. Um, Kelly, yeah, like it's like kind of bad into Heatran, but you can either just Terra or just like Wide Guard, and this Pokemon never runs like single target moves. Yeah, the context of like recent meta trends, this Pokemon is definitely better. I really should try using it more. All right, Cart. I really like
It's
Cart.
definitely good. Oh,
Mhm.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was talking about Steela. I was saying I think it's definitely good. It's just that I think that Pokemon, how I've seen people use it, they kind of like sack their momentum with it.
Yeah,
Like once it's in, they just hard commit to having it in, and they never switch it out. And like I think that kind of hurts how people like perceive it.
yeah,
I think it should be like I think it'd be like tier 2, at least in my mind.
it should be, but I'm not really super impressed with a lot of its usage recently, and it doesn't really have the highest usage. But it generally like it has a lot of potential. That and like Cube are like the really big options to me. Where like if they're built better, they could definitely like be tier 2 or higher. Um, yeah, it's just like stuff like Incineroar is actually really annoying for it, unfortunately. That's kind of the big.
Mhm.
That's like it's good into everything else here, like you're saying, right? It's literally good into all of these Pokemon except for like Vish and Incin. But Incin is actually deceptively annoying for it. Um,
Mhm.
with like that parted shot, getting out of the Leech Seed.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
also on like a lot of teams, and like single target Flare Blitz does a lot. Um,
I mean,
knocking off
Instant
leftovers
has
if
to
you're running
scout first, though.
leftovers. Yeah,
Instant has
yeah.
to scout first. If they see no item, you have to scout for Meteor Beam.
Yeah, but
Because
Meteor
I
Beam
know,
is kind of mid, unfortunately, because
uh,
then with Meteor Beam, like you actually are weak to like Pokemon like Heatran and Zarg because you're not running Wide Guard. Maybe
right,
like
right, right.
Power Wide Guard with like no Protect is interesting, but that's like
Yeah,
stuff, right?
that sounds like a bad set.
It sounds like LARP. I mean, I saw that before, but I think that was just because it's a Dynamax format, so you could just use Wide Guard as protected Dynamax.
Right, yeah,
Um,
Max, yep.
yeah. Okay. Let's see. Okay, Cart. I actually really like Cart. I think it's like a middle of tier 3, maybe lower half of tier 3 option. I've actually been using Scarf on this guy recently, and it's so funny. Like, Flutter expects to outspeed you and kill you, and then you just kill it with Smart Strike. Like, lol. It's also one of the best Pokemon at dealing with Tapu Fini offensively. It has a good typing with Meds. It's definitely not, like, super dominant Pokemon or anything, but uh, it is, like, kind of a paper plane or whatever. Like, it's just gonna, like, get knocked out. Um, but it's still pretty good. It does a lot of damage. Z is okay. Clear Mode's okay. But I really think Scarf is like really, really good. Uh, and it's a really excellent late game cleaner if you have like proper support next to it. Uh, yeah, cool Pokemon. Um, yeah, I don't really know if I have much else to say, but I definitely think it's better than the stuff down here. Okay, Xurkitree. Xurkitree is very committal. Good Pokemon, very strong, high ceiling. But you really have to run like a lot of support with it. Incineroar, Jirachi, Rillaboom type stuff. Definitely like viable as its own archetype, but it's kind of only good in like that one kind of like 6, you know? Okay. Nihilego, this Pokemon's seen more usage recently, but I still don't think it's particularly good. It's probably here, maybe probably higher than Zapdos. Typing is really good into Flutter, and the special defense stat is also really good into Flutter. Unfortunately, you have to run Meteor Beam, and Meteor Beam is a very funny move, and sometimes you miss. But that's not really something I'm going to hold against them on. The main issue is, like, after it burns Meteor Beam, it's really bad into, like, Heatran. It's really bad into Seala. Lando I and Lando T both hit it really hard, obviously, and just knock it out. But the typing's really useful. If it had like better defensive bulk, it would be a lot stronger. But unfortunately, it has like too much special defense to have a higher BST. But definitely like a good Pokemon. But I would not put it any higher than this. Okay, Marshadow. I think Palo has fallen off a little bit, and I think Marshadow has fallen off a little bit as well. But Marshadow is a very, very frightening Pokemon offensively. Being able to like hit Flutter with Shadow Snake is still very good. Unfortunately, like it's kind of bad at Demets. That's really its main detriment. Fortunately, Pal kind of covers for that, but Redirection can be annoyed for this Pokemon as well. Especially because like it's just taking Life Orb chips, so if it's not like 2-hit KOing stuff or OHKOing stuff, like it really just becomes like paper thin. But definitely.
Oh, is it really bad in immense? It's crazy.
Yep, because it just gets Intimidate, and Mets's physical bulk is incredible, especially if they're like HP.
Oh, does that not die to Ice Punch?
It doesn't really run Ice Punch. You gotta run double Ghost plus CC Protect.
Right, Protect. I'm thinking of singles.
Yeah, I mean it can still tap Mets with like a few surprise sets, like Life Orb HP Ice has been used before, and that actually because that's Technician, it like actually just kills both those Mets. But generally, like it's not as strong in Mets as you would like it to be. It's still good. It's just like very difficult to use, or not very difficult to use, but like deceptively difficult to use because it's very easy to stack your HP on this guy and boom, it's dead.
I feel like it has a lot of value if you know your opponent likes to run setup cheese. You just load up a Marshadow and you're like, fucked.
Yeah. Spectral Feed is really good for that reason. But Curious a little bit like less setup oriented. Like some of the best setup swoopers are all match up well and do it anyway. Right? Like Meds, it's a DD, it outspeeds Marsh and it just kills you. Feeny will beat Marsh if it has like any kind of redirection at all. But yeah, definitely Spectral Thief is one of the definitive points for it. They're very cool Pokemon. Okay. Naganadel. This Pokemon is not really some usage, but I actually think it has some interesting stuff in maybe like a post-Flutter tier. Unfortunately, it's probably like here. I'm not going to say it's not usable because it outspeeds Meds and just kills it with Draco Meteor, and Poison type offensively is pretty cool too. But it's like a little bit troll, I think. Like just being outsped by like Marsh, Coco, Pow, Flutter is like not good when they can all like hit you for significant damage. I mean, less so Coco, but like it just gets outsped and out-traded. Okay. Rilla is very good. Obviously, just like fake out support. Grassy Terrain Healing is really good for a lot of different Pokemon in this tier. You're good at dealing with Feeny and Flutter, but very bad into like instant Heatran beds, unless you're running HHP, which is definitely real. But it just can't run all of it at once, right? If this was like 70 base color Glide, this would be tier 1, and you could run U-turn HHP, fake out Glide. But unfortunately, you have to run Wood Hammer because you don't really have a better option to deal damage. Definitely a very good Pokemon. Consistently one of the highest performing mons, probably like above Lando I. But stuff is generally like bulky enough to take it on, and there's like a lot of good Pokemon that just like have really good matchups with the grass types. But into everything that doesn't have like a really good matchup into grass types, this Pokemon is very good. And obviously Glide is just good at picking up KOs and stuff. But really, its main selling point is just like the leftovers healing for stuff. It really makes a lot of like the more fringe Pokemon. Like it's very good with stuff like Zard, trading off like terrain for like turning off Misty Terrain of like Clicking Wisp and just having like that lefty support. It's good for like Kang having that like little passive recovery. Good for good synergy with like Mawile as well. Specifically for beating like Ments, but yeah, it's just like has a few too many negative matchups to be higher than this. Could maybe make an argument. I think Rachi is too low. I'm gonna move Rachi up. Okay. Also, funny stuff with Rachi plus Rilla, you can run Secret Power and have 60% chance to inflict sleep. But a lot of times Rachi wants to run Thunder Wave anyway, so you don't really run it. It's just one of Rachi's like billion other options, but it's probably the most uncompetitive because sleep is broken. Okay.
Nah, that's funny. That's funny as hell.
It's so funny, dude. Okay. Oh, Lucky. Cool and I have been like really experimenting with this Pokemon lately. It's really useful as a screens merchant. And it's just so fast. Like Electro Web stuff with like stuff like bulky Lando Eye is really, really threatening. And it gets a lot of value out of screens. Definitely like a fringe Pokemon, but its speed and access to Electro Web make it very, very good in certain matchups. And screens can be really degenerate with a lot of top Pokemon in this tier, and a lot of stuff hasn't really adapted yet. So for now, I'm going to put it like tier 4. Could be used more, could be used less. But definitely, screens was a set that was overlooked for a long time. I told Klonoff one of it of like 2 weeks ago. Okay. Palafin, lol. Glabora. I think I ranked this like similarly to Nihilego. P-Spikes is really good into like some teams. I guess I'll put it at the bottom of tier 3, or top of tier 4. Top of tier 4 is good. Slightly better than Nihilego. Same typing, a little bit slower, same access to Meteor Beam, but really that T-Spikes is really valuable into some physical teams. Okay, but it has like a less... Its main thing for Nihilego is like Nihilego has a much better flutter matchup. Whereas Glabora is just taking like 30 from like Moonblast, or even higher if Terra's been burned. That's kind of like the main reason why Nihilego has some usage, but P-Spikes is really, really good. There's a lot of like teams that run a lot of physical stuff in this format. And of those, like Glabora is very good. And then like there's a lot of rock weak targets. It usually doesn't run boots in this tier. I think the strongest set is like the Z move. So getting rocks up is very good. There's probably the best like one that's dedicated to clicking rocks. Like Lando T can also click rocks very well, but a lot of the time it wants to be running Scarf anyway, so it doesn't really have room for it. So yeah, Glabora is pretty good. It also has like some usage on like these like really offensive like Kang teams with Torn. I think the 6 is like Torn, Glabora, Flutter, Chiyu, Kang, and like something else. I think Vish or Celesteela, I can't remember. But it's used on that team, and it's very good. Alright, Gambit, this Pokemon has knockoff, but other than that, it's kind of mid, bottom of tier 4, I think. Defiant is very good. There's like, a lot of Pokemon that like have Intimidate, obviously, so that's a plus. But unfortunately, even with like a +1 boost in this tier, it's just like not enough a lot of the time, unfortunately. Okay.
I'd even go tier 5 on Gambit. I just think it doesn't have turns to click Sword Stance in this tier. And there's like so many good redirectors that Sucker Punch loses a lot of value.
That's fair. I think knockoff with AV is like better, and I think that's like tier 4 worthy, probably. But it's definitely like on the edge for me. I agree. Fortune is just like not viable in this format.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
Tusk. Tusk is cool. Specifically with Zard because of like Earthquake synergy. I think it's like a solid tier 5, top of tier 5, bottom of tier 4 option. I'm really partial to this Pokemon personally, but there are other ground types that you're more likely to use anyway. But it's definitely cool. Like, has like a lot of utility. If rocks ever become more viable in this tier, this Pokemon instantly becomes like tier 4. Because I think AV Spin Tusk is very, very good in both SV and Natdex if rocks are like common to your opponent's scout or whatever. But otherwise, I think you're better off using Lando T, Lando I, or like one of the Ursalunas. All right, Flutter we finally made it to Flutter. This is tier 0, honestly. It's
Can you make
very
a
good.
tier above Ensign?
I could, honestly. Let's see.
We should. It's literally
Accu-
tier 0. Like it's in a tier by itself.
Accurate representation of Flutter main.
Yeah.
Yep.
Tier 0. I agree. I definitely think like Instant is like the second best spawn in the tier, and it's enough for me to differentiate it from these, I think. But Flutter isn't a class by itself. It's not even really fair to compare Instant to Flutter. Let's see. Let me change the. Yeah, this Pokemon is just so.
To be fair, if we have tier 0 Flutter, like maybe Megamans should be tier 1, maybe Feeny should be tier 1, right? Like.
Yeah, but it's less about making it an actual tier and less about making the point that Flutter is.
Yeah, it's just differentiating it.
Yeah. But yeah, just excellent offensive synergy. Pairs well on literally every team can run Flutter main. Particularly great with like Lando I and Mets. Although there's a few like overlapping checks to like Flutter and Mets specifically, but it just like I said for like Mets, Heatran, Jirachi, and like Feeny and Itsun, like the thing that these Pokemon have in common is that they all pair really, really well with each other, and that's part of what makes them better. They all like work together in ways that like a lot of the uncommon ones just like can't replicate. Okay. Bundle? Low-key Bundle? Does it have potential? Maybe? It's definitely better than the Pokemon I put in UR. I don't know. Maybe Booster Speed is interesting on this guy? I don't know. I haven't really tried it. But that sounds like it has potential. I don't know. Cool Pokemon. Maybe you could use it on Snow too. I don't think it's very good, but like, it's probably like tier 5. If I have the other stuff in here in tier 5. Alright, Hands. This is another clear tier 1 staple in my opinion. Probably like here, maybe. Hands fits really well on every team. Or not every team, but like a lot. Just unparalleled bulk. Really good with Coco. SD sets are real in multiple contexts, with whether with like Misty Seed or Electric Seed. I think Electric Seed Hands is like really, really oppressive in certain matchups. Like especially like if there's like no Flutter. It's so stupid. And just great move pool in general. Only drawback really is being bad into Flutter. Like Flutter plus Lando I really pins it, regardless of Terra type. But excellent Pokemon. It just doesn't like quite trade as favorably as like it does in SV with AB. Like it just doesn't quite do as much damage. But it's still very, very good. Okay. Pelipper, worst third option. Maybe good with Swampert, but I think Politoed is like a lot better. It's probably like down here. I don't know. Like it's okay because like it's still Rain. You could probably use it with like Arch. It's okay. I'll put it in 4 specifically because it might be better with Arch than Politoed in some contexts. But I think Politoed is vastly better on most situations just because it has so much more bulk. And generally similar move kits otherwise, except for like Tailwind, but like realistically, like that's not really something your raid teams are really missing in this format.
He has Wide Guard.
Yeah.
I think the big benefit of Pelipper is that Hurricane hits a lot of the redirectors, and like Politoed has a little bit of trouble doing that.
Yeah, that's true.
And then like there's some like troll stuff you can do with like Water Z move from your Swift Swimmer plus like Brine from Pelipper. Right?
That
it
sounds
just like
really
guarantees
funny.
a kill in one slot. Yeah. But it's like yeah, I mean it's tier 4, even tier 5 I'd be fine with.
Yeah, it's good. All right, Scissor, the other big rain guy. This Pokemon is really good on Basque Rain. Like really, really good. And it's seen more usage outside of that too. I used to kind of think it was like only limited to Rain, and I think Rain is like its best archetype for it, obviously, but it can be used outside of it too. It's really good at hitting Flutter. And a lot of people run CC now, so that's good into Instant and Heatran if you can get like the speed advantage. I think this Pokemon is really, really cool. But specifically for Rain, it is so good. Getting rid of like Flutter and like Rilla and other stuff is just so good, and like Rain obviously covers for its weaknesses very well as well. But yeah, this Pokemon, like, I think the best like Rain stuff is like Politoed, Feeny, Basque, Scissor plus like 2, maybe not Feeny, but like Basque, Scissor, Politoed plus like Grass type is just like really, really good. I like complementing each other's weaknesses. It's definitely like not like us like not the most broken archetype in the tier, but like it has enough synergy that it's playable into almost everything. Okay. Hoopa, tier 5. Experimenting Force Clicker. Not much else to say. Okay. Kamo, this guy is kind of LARP. Maybe full LARP. What do we think? Tier 5 or you are?
I think it's UR. There's
Yeah,
just
I
no
think
way
it's
that
UR
one's
as
good.
well. Yeah, there's just too many fairy types. Okay.
There's like 7 better body pressers, and its Z move just isn't strong enough in this in this gen. So
yeah, it's
there's a lot of mons I'd rather use a Z move on because this thing's typing is awful without Terra.
Yeah.
It's unironically better as a body presser, but yeah, what Kuhn all said. I'd just rather use Ferrothorn or like Ghost or whatever.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, Groove Snarl, probably usable, probably like tier 4. Same thing as a Lucky. It's just the same boat as like just click screens. Probably T-Wave is really degenerate on this guy, but maybe not as big of an issue as in some of the SV formats because VD's legal. But probably has a lot of potential. It hasn't really seen a whole lot of usage, but when it's been used with like Sinistcha stuff and been kind of degenerate. So definitely viable. Okay. Cress, this guy is LARP, but it's probably tier 5. There's some fun stuff you could do with like Crest Bear. Crest Bear is like okay. Ursula is more viable because there's more things you can pair it with. But Crest is probably okay. Like it's bulky enough to like sit on the field and set Trick Room. Lunar Blessing is appreciated by some of the mons. It's not super great or anything, but it's definitely like not UR. Okay, Bast.
I don't know. Maybe my VGC brain is talking, but every time I think Ursaluna's bad, this guy ends up being like, yeah, I don't know, man.
No, Ursaluna's very good, but there's just
It's
other
just
ground
so
types
good.
that are more splashable. And unironically, let me talk about Blood Moon now before I get to Bask. Blood Moon is just better. Blood Moon is very good. Excellent typing. Only like special attacking ground type besides Lando-I. Like Assault Vest is really good on it. Normalium Z is really good on it. It picks up a lot of KOs and lets you use Blood Moon, Z Blood Moon, and then Blood Moon again, which is so fucking funny, dude. And that's kind of its main thing, but good Pokemon. The normal stab really adds something to it. It's not like super great by any means, but I definitely like think it's more useful than the regular Ursaluna. You just don't have to predict as much. Bask, I'm just gonna put all 3 of these guys together. Very, very good. What else do I have to say about it? Last Respects is just a dumb button. But the thing is, in like this tier, like just the water stab is enough to like be really, really threatening. Just like clicking Flip Turn or clicking Wave Crash is just so strong. And yeah, I kind of talked about it with Scissor, but like these 3 Pokemon together are just really good. Okay, Gold is fine, but it's not as good as some of the other steals.
Nobody wants to use gold. Nobody wants to use gold.
It's like tier 4. It's fine. You could definitely use it. It's probably not really going to see usage until Flutter goes away because people kind of just forget about it. But it's okay. Typing's all right. But there are other steel types that are just easier to use. Okay, Camerupt, Full Room Nutrient. This is with like P2. Not much to say. Just like Earth Power,
it's
Heat
tier
Wave
5.
stuff.
It's tier 5.
No, I think it's tier 4. I think Full Room is like viable archetype. If you're running Full Room, I think you should be running Camerupt. I don't think there's a better Mega on Full Room.
I agree, but I think Full Room sometimes might be better without a Mega. Camerupt is like good. Earth Power is really good. Like there's no ground attackers for Trick Room Raids. You have like Ursaluna, but then you have to run like Cress or Bronzong to Earthquake. In general, special attacking ground types are going to be stronger. The problem is that Camerupt has no real way to hit Feeny. Like you have to LARP with nature power plus Rillaboom.
That's not LARP though. That's the thing.
No,
It's
no,
like
it's-
actually a
I
good
think
set.
Room actually really wants to use
So-
Rillaboom just because of the pivoting and control
The
it provides.
problem with Camerupt is that it is really bad at reacting to Terras, right? Like you have exactly one turn. You have to call whether the Feeny's terraing or not, and like you're switching your Rillaboom in, and your Camerupt might just die, right? Like it's stuff like that that just makes it really hard to use.
Mhm.
So it's like it can snowball really hard if you get like 2 turns right in Trick Room. Otherwise, you're like almost always losing the game, in my opinion.
Mhm.
Which is why
That's fair
I mean
enough.
it's like it does what it's supposed to do, but I just don't think that Full Room is strong enough with camera up. Like, I'd rather see it used in the context of size spam, which is why I would rate it tier 5 personally.
I mean, that's
I
fair enough.
really like Camera Up on the dual terrain style of Full Room with Hoopa, because they both really benefit from Rillaboom. Camera Up gets its terrain pulse, and Hoopa gets the grassy seed, and then it's just like a complete bullshit stat stick. And they complement each other pretty nicely offensively. Hoopa covers for a lot of the stuff that you don't really want to use Camera Up into, but just keeps clicking Expanding Force, and it breaks the team down early. And then Camera Up can come in and do a lot of progress late game. They really, really synergize with Rillaboom. I have a team in my builder that I've been using a lot lately that's just anchored by those two guys being really good attackers, and it's just full support for them with like one more physical breaker, and it feels so good.
With Flarp. Okay, Pow is like tier 3. It's fallen off a little bit, but the speed is still excellent. I think Pow teams just need to like kind of reinvent the wheel a little bit, similar to like Zard. But I think Zard is like a little bit more of a defined archetype, so Zard gets to stay in 2 and Pow drops to 3. But this Pokemon is very good, like outspeeding Mets and like threatening no co-ed is really, really strong. Intimidate stuff is just really annoying for Pow. That's kind of the main thing. But it's very good in like a lot of the top mons. The trick is just like preserving your sash and pairing it with the right guys, basically. But it's a good Pokemon. But I think the teams just need to be better optimized with it. Okay. Tinglu, this is like probably 4. This is fine. The Rocks is okay with it. There's like a ground DMZ set that's okay. It has good synergy with Mets, specifically like DD Mets plus Tinglu. I think is fairly strong. But like it doesn't really have much use outside of that, in my opinion. Okay, Chi-Yu. This is another HO Pokemon. Flutter is broken. Chi-Yu is broken. Flutter Chi-Yu is broken. Specifically, the best like all-out offensive fire type. It doesn't really offer anything else beside that. It's just like it's very good. There's a lot of special attackers you can pair it with too. Like it's really good with like special attacking Mega Mets. It's good with Specs Fini. It's just like you're giving up on using Heatran or Incineroar, which have much better defensive profiles. But when it's used, it's a strong Pokemon. Okay, Walking Wick. This is like Sunlarp, but not good Sunlarp. It's here with like Great Tusk probably. Okay, Cornerstone. Cornerstone is another redirector I think is very good. In the context of this list, I'd probably stick it to the top of tier 4. I like it a lot. I think like the Rock Stab is really nice for it. It helps differentiate it from the other Ogre Pawns, which generally have like a lot harder time like doing stuff offensively with their stabs in this format. And Sturdy is really good for it too. Actually, yeah, I'm gonna move it up to tier 3. I think this Pokemon is really cool in this format. Just for hitting like Mets and Zard and having Sturdy is a really consistent option next to some other Pokemon.
Go
Okay.
into all 3 top Megas.
Yeah. All right, Harflame. I'm not particularly a fan of Harflame. It feels kind of weak when I use it, and I think the other fire types are just better at being bulky. But I think it's like here probably. And then Wellspring probably goes up with Cornerstone. I think Wellspring is very good. It's really easy to run bulk on this guy. It's like the second, or okay, it's like the best water type that's not any of the guys above it. It's probably better than Politoed on its own merit, obviously, but Politoed is just like rain lol. Overpod Wellspring, similarly to like what it did in FD, is very good next to Flutter. It really helps you support your Flutter, and its typing is good at supporting it as well. And also just like Water Stab is okay. Being really, really good at Defini is good as well. Yeah. Okay. Tealpon, this Pokemon sucks. Okay. Sinistra. I don't really see this guy a lot in this tier. There's definitely stuff it can be used with, but a lot of the stuff it got used with is no longer legal. I think it goes in tier 4 just for the Arch, because it's very good with Arcaludon, and Arcaludon is definitely very viable. But I think Arcaludon is slightly worse than like the other rain stuff. So I'm just gonna like throw it like a little bit lower, like here. Okay.
It's really high for how little usage it's gotten.
Nah, I think it's good. Like, it can definitely be used with the other stuff too. Like, it's probably fine with like Ments. Like Flutter being legal is annoying for it, right? But like, it's just a good Pokemon. The stronger your Pokemon are, and like I think using like Arcaludon without Sinistcha is like kind of throwing. And I think Arcaludon is something I'd also put. I'll just talk about it now. Arcaludon is very good. I think I like Bask more as a raid option this year because Flutter is annoying for it. But it's still a very, very strong Pokemon with excellent defensive profiles and a lot of the other top Pokemon. It's just really Lando Eye plus Flutter that are annoying for it. It's very good. Kind of similar to the SV. It's a lot of room to be explored. And like, especially like late in SV, this Pokemon was really, really dominant. So I wouldn't be surprised to see it like rise up even farther. But generally, I think Scizor is a better Rain Mega, although they're very close. And if Arcaludon could be used effectively with Basket Legion, like, it'd be better, but the two just don't function well together at all. They kind of just play a lot differently.
They would be better. Their archetype would be broken if they could be paired better.
Yeah. Alright. Deoxys Speed. This Pokemon is interesting. There's some really funny stuff you can do with Chi-Yu that I've done before, but it's like not super good. It's a half decent Rocks Clicker, but like it's like bottom of tier 4 or even tier 5, but it's good. It has some other options that could be used as well, but I think Icy Wind is very good on it. Into a lot of the top ones. I specifically just like lately I've just really like Chi-Yu plus Deoxys Speed in both SV and Natdex. I think it's a very cool offensive synergy that lets you like click Icy Wind plus Heat Wave and overcome Chi-Yu's like kind of average speed stat. It's really good into everything that's not Prankster Tailwind. But into that, like it kind of just gets like out traded. And a bad Flutter matchup can't really do shit to Flutter. Although I think there is a calc where like Z Psycho Boost kills Flutter with Chi-Yu on the field. I think that's why I used it. That's pretty funny, but it's obviously not the most reliable thing in the world. Alright, Raging Bolt, very good on Sun. Calm Mind is also pretty good as well. I think this is better in Natdex than SV just because of Sun, but I still think it's like I'd rate Hands higher than it. I think it goes with Sarn. Maybe here, I don't know. The Calm Mind set really should probably be explored more. That plus Sinistcha could probably be really good with the right Mega Evolution. Yeah, this Pokemon's very good. Sometimes you see like a Z-move on it as well. It's really one of the like defining Pokemon on Sun still. That hasn't changed even with like Snag Attack and being taken out of the tier. But yeah, this Pokemon gets better if Sun gets better.
True VGCers know that Raging Bolt's tier 0. That's all I'm gonna say.
You're not real. Alright. Iron Crown. There are so many other size mods I'd rather use, but like it's okay. It's like half decent probably.
Let's go Iron Clown.
Maybe you could use it
probably tier 4 just because of his typing.
Yeah, the typing's good.
Like, purely by being a fairy resist and being able to hit Flutter, right? Like I don't know.
Yeah. Can't be that bad. But also like you don't really see it very much. It's probably like here. It's probably like gold tier. Like it's probably fine, but you don't really see either of them very often. Let me check if there's anything else in the VR that's not on this list.
He's one of the few Pokemon that can kill what's his face, Dio 8 through Sash, which I don't even think.
I know a Pokemon that's not on this list or the VR that belongs there.
Oh, Smeargle? True.
No, fuck that guy.
Well, let me think of what unviable Pokemon you're thinking of. Give me one second.
I didn't see Mega Mawile on this list.
No, Mawile is on there. Mawile's in 4.
Yeah.
Is there anything cool I talked about that's not here?
No, I don't think so. All my URs were at the bottom, so it was just Tusk, Nihilego, Aleki.
No love for Venusaur.
Did we tier Volcanion?
Venusaur's in 5. Volcanion's in 4. Venusaur's in 5. Screamtail's not on here. Screamtail's probably fine. Metagross is not on here. Metagross is also fine. Also 5. That's probably about it. I don't know.
Screamtail is so funny.
I don't know if you tiered Serena if it was on that list, but Serena should be UR in my opinion.
I put it in 5. I think Serena's like okay. Sure. But it's like the very bottom.
Yeah.
If you have
Viability.
what's his face ranked, if you have Serena ranked, where do you rank Farigiraf?
Oh, choreograph? It's probably like it doesn't really see much
not
usage,
there.
but I think it's like 4 at least. If it's like actual use, I think it has some cool stuff you could do with it. Um,
Yep.
Specifically, like probably strong with like bed splitter stuff. Um, yeah,
Did
Farig
Nobody's
got a
should be on
really
this
crazy
VR.
explored
move
the
Furi got a crazy
nobody's
move pool in
really
this gen,
explored
dude.
the tail room team that has like Reggie Drago that's really good in SV. No one's really explored that in Natdex, so maybe that can do something. With the
Drago
new
is just
options for
really
this year.
bad. Drago, in my opinion, is really, really bad in this tier. And it was bad in SV before Flutter got banned as well.
Yeah.
But like this tier just has, in addition to Flutter, it has all the Tapus. It has Gardevoir. It has Misty Terrain. It has like a lot
I
of
agree
just
with
faster
you.
Tailwind
We can
mons.
probably find something else to fill that slot though with all our options.
Yeah, maybe.
Like Farig Flutter is probably fine. Like helping
Yeah.
hand with some of these top Pokemon is probably just really dumb. But like other than that, I don't know what it's clicking. Maybe Electric Seed on like the Coco teams could be funny.
On Farig, on this tier, you definitely run what's it called? You called Misty Seed, right? With the Finny.
Oh, that sounds funny as fuck, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, that actually is probably pretty viable. I'm gonna
Maybe.
try
I think
that.
you're so weak to physical mons though.
Yeah.
You'll be fine.
Like I don't know if Farig actually makes enough progress to be particularly good in this tier.
I think
Maybe
it's
not.
nice as a Trick Room setter for teams that want to get up Trick Room and how much fake out this is in the tier.
Yeah.
You can see good mileage out of Farig, like a Farig Iron Hands kind of build, right? Because like, what's your Trick Room setter for Iron Hands? Usually you want to dedicate it to Jirachi, but then you're giving up a Jirachi move slot, which is already very limited, right? So wouldn't like Farigiraf, who's not susceptible to fake out either, and maybe isn't able to be removed immediately, because how are they removing you instantly, right? Let's say you are Misty Seed. Flutter can't OHKO you. So then what? Instant is not gonna two-shot you with knock. Surely not. So it's like it might be a bit harder to remove.
Yeah, it might be okay. I think that in general though, I would rather dedicate a move slot on Jirachi to Trick Room than a Mon slot on my team. Like I think that's the biggest difference between this tier and like SV or VGC or anything like that. Is you only have 6 slots and there are like 20 really, really good Pokemon. And so like in order to justify putting them on like Farigiraf on your team, you have to be getting insane mileage out of it, right? It really, really has to be worth the investment. And I'm not sure that it does that. It might, but I think that you don't necessarily need it as like a Trick Room support for your hands or for your Ursaluna or for whatever the case is. There's like plenty of good options.
I always feel like on those kind of builds, those like Trick Room builds, you need some sort of like anti-fake out. Because if you've ever, I mean, at least for me, when I've watched VGC regionals, right, I've seen people be able to stall Trick Room with fake out cycling, and I think it can apply even greater to DOU because you have those extra 2 slots to switch around with.
Yeah, for sure.
I think one of the
true.
differences here is that Indeedee has expanding force. So it's just so much better. It has expanding force and fake out.
Yeah, the other
And
thing
you
is
get access to size seed and whatnot.
with like, I mean, using Jirachi as the example, right? Not that I'm clicking Trick Room with Jirachi super often, but with Jirachi, I get to set up Stealth Rocks and punish them for switching around their fake outs. And like Farigiraf can't do that, right? I think the big value for Ridge is like it'll make your Feeny just beat Rillaboom almost all the time.
Right.
And so if that's like a big enough niche, then yes, it's really good. If that's not a big enough niche, then like maybe you're looking at Foul Play being decent into Mence, or like like if Roar is ever good, then Farigiraf is a really good Roar clicker. Stuff like that could definitely be good. It's also like with Misty Seed, it's definitely good into Flutter. You're probably out trading Flutter.
No, definitely with Psyshock. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, I looked through my builder. The only stuff on here that's not Aerodactyl is just not on this list by accident, I think. Oh, that Pokemon's probably like tier 5. It's cool stuff. It's just so fast.
Yeah, agree.
And then Aegislash, I think that's like I actually personally really, really like Aegislash with like Rilla. Hasn't really seen much use, but it's definitely like tier 5, I think. The typing is just really, really funny. And I've used it to some success in tours as well. There was one more. Hold on. Oh, like Roaring Moon, I think is okay. Goltrus, I think is okay, but like those haven't really seen enough usage to really warrant it. But like they're in my builder. They're honorable mentions for this list. But yeah, that's gonna be it. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.